We took your counsel, Madam Chair, and we met yesterday with City of Minneapolis, with Mayor Ryback and City Council President Barbara Johnson and staff. And the city walked us through the 3 sites that they had identified and been working on in Minneapolis. We raised a number of questions and issues regarding each site. We did not indicate a preferred site in Minneapolis. I know they're going to speak to you today. They are working to get us answers on the questions that we raised. But I would note that most of the issues that we raised regarding these sites do not exist at the Arden Hills site. With that, we'll get into the stadium finance issues, but just wanted to give an update to the committee on the committees on the discussion the Vikings held yesterday with Minneapolis.
Mr. Merkins, do you have an update for us on how Ramsey County would participate with financing if a local option sales tax is off the table?
Identified some additional user financing based revenues that we think can be generated from the TCAP site. So we think those can be brought to bear to this equation to offset the public share that can be used to offset some of the operating costs of the stadium. So we have that. We also want to talk about whether or not the legislature is interested in giving us the authority to have and use the same suite of local option taxes that other jurisdictions in Minnesota have. Whether you're talking about the local option sales taxes in Minneapolis, or you're talking about Hennepin County, or you're talking about the city of St. Paul. And one of the examples that we would very specifically point to today is if Ramsey County were allowed to consider the same type of local option taxes in Ramsey County that are considered elsewhere, maybe food and beverage taxes, maybe hotel, motel, hospitality taxes. Those same kind of revenues could be achieved on the Ramsey County side, just like they are on the west side of the river.
Issues that you were asked to resolve, to talk with the Vikings to narrow the site and to lay a financing strategy on. We have made significant progress on all levels. We have not solved any of those issues, but we are significantly closer than we were a week ago and confident in a partnership that we see a path to close the gap. First, our meeting with the Vikings we thought was very productive. We very much appreciate it and thank you publicly as we thanked you privately for what we thought was a very constructive discussion. We got into some very good details about the many different needs that the Vikings have and that we have. We talked through all sites. They took none off the table, want all to be explored in some way, and we agree with that. We also said that we had been asked to narrow that, and I'll do that in 1 minute, but continue to make progress on that. We talked about financing options and multiple others. It was a first discussion in a while, but I would say a very productive one. Toward the second point of narrowing it to sites, while we do see potential in all 3 and will continue to do those, we spoke with the Vikings at that point and now want to say to you publicly that our preferred site is the Metrodome. We believe that's significant because it does save, according to the numbers that I just heard, about $215 million from the other site on the table. With all the discussion that has taken place in this room about how difficult it is to fund a stadium, we think it is very important to look for a stadium at an option that is proven at a cost of $215 million less for the state of Minnesota. Those are real dollars and it matters. It's also a site that we believe has demonstrated itself as able to handle these crowds and a significant infrastructure. One of the many things we talked about with the Vikings was the idea of having a game day experience that was enhanced from what we have now. We agree, and so we've done a lot of thinking on the idea of how to deliver a game day experience that is even more enhanced than we currently have. Toward that end, we have begun discussions with the owners of the Armory, which is just 2 blocks from the current Metrodome site. The Armory, which is a clear span building, it was good enough for George Mikan at the Lakers to play there, and we believe it would be a great place for an event center field house that on game days could be the center point of a new game day experience before and after the game. We see the pre and post game being concentrated along an enhanced 4th and 5th Street, centered at the Armory, and allowing there to be both tailgating, food trucks, and multiple other options that create a true fan experience. It's a different one than we had talked about in Arden Hills, but one that we think begins to address that core issue. The Metrodome does have many advantages. Cost is certainly one of them, but we also believe it is has the potential to be an extremely successful new home for the Vikings, but one that uses existing infrastructure already in place. This issue is tough enough to solve. We should try to take every reasonable and smart shortcut we can, especially those that save money. We don't have to dig the hole. We don't have to do part of the seat alignment in all of that. But we do have the plan that will create all of the revenue options that are necessary for the Vikings.